The goal for Shakedex is to become the dominant exchange for handshake names, dominant decentralized exchange for handshake names. And so we're going to do that by making the experience of buying and selling names on Shakedex as great as possible, and then decentralizing the governance and profits generated by the exchange using some Shakedex token. Details on that are to be determined, but that's the end goal, right? We want to have as many people using Shakedex as possible, and then we want to allow users to have stake in the governance and profit generated by the exchange through the Shakedex token. My goal with this avatar is to kind of go balls to the wall crypto, and for me to be congruent with that, I have to go anon, because I personally think the future of work and the future of coordination is going to be lots of pseudonymous identities working and coordinating together to do fun and impactful things. The creation of the Kurumi avatar is basically a statement that, if a hentai character can produce something meaningful, so can you. Yeah, there is a roadmap. I can walk you through the high level over the next couple of months. 6 months is a lot easier for me to project out than a year. So I'll walk you through the 6 months first. So 6 months, we're looking at the following things. So I'm working on a Golang port of the Handshake wallet node. So this is the wallet node that exists inside of HSD that Bob Wallet and pretty much every other tool that runs a wallet talks to. The point of that is to eliminate some of the issues people have been seeing with the existing Handshake wallet node, particularly when they have a lot of names. And what that's going to do is that's going to make it easier for people to interact with both Handshake and Shakedex itself, because, with that wallet node, I can bake Shakedex support in very directly. So that's taken up the majority of my time over the last couple of weeks. So that'll take us probably for about a month to the end of June-ish. Then after that, it's just adding additional functionality to each one of the core Shakedex integrations. So Block Explorer, that's stuff like name gifting. That's stuff like, what is it called? Place offer on shakedex.com. So the ability to place an offer for a name that hasn't been listed and decentralize in a decentralized way, fulfill that offer. Then storefronts, the ability for people that have a portfolio of names to add text records to them in order to advertise them on the platform. And then live auctions on the shakedex.com platform. Once I've added all this stuff, the goal here is to basically create a really compelling market experience that matches the equivalent on centralized exchanges. Then I'll start working on the decentralized governance stuff. But I'm a big believer that before you launch a token or do anything like that, you really want to make sure that you're able to present utility for it. And before I take fees, I also want to make sure that we have strong utility on the exchange. So that's why it's very infrastructure and feature set focused before going whole hog into the kind of DeFi decentralized governance type work. Yeah, I don't have a name yet for the token, but the end goal is definitely give people the ability to have stake in the success of Shakedex. Yeah, and I'm happy to expand on any individual kind of roadmap item. I mean, obviously, all these things are going to be open source as well. So I'll be able to, share these, the actual code with everybody as I'm working on it. Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, I think the entire kind of Handshake ecosystem is rather user-unfriendly, primarily because, we just haven't been in existence for very long, and as a result, the tooling and things like that around it aren't very mature. So the plan to make Shakedex more user-friendly starts with stability. So working on the core infrastructure necessary in order to make sure that the experience of interacting both with Handshake and Shakedex works really well, even if you're what I think of as a power user, so somebody with 1,000+ names, say. So I'll start by fixing those problems and integrating the Go wallet node, which I'm calling GoHand with Bob. That should start by eliminating a lot of these stability problems. And then working with Jackie from Kyokin on the Bob Chrome extension. So the Bob Chrome extension is a lot more similar to what people are used to when it comes to interacting with blockchains, because it kind of mimics the experience of MetaMask. The goal there is to make it work really, really well, and use sort of familiar user patterns. And so again, that's a sort of user experience plus user experience plus stability play. And then once that's finished, we can integrate that with blockexplorer.com. And so now we have a kind of my EtherWallet-esque experience that people are used to. And with all those things together, we should have a Shakedex that's a lot more user-friendly. And again, all of this stuff, it's things that I want everyone's feedback on as I'm working on it. And yeah, the new node will be a big deal. The vision for that longer term is to sort of become a second client. So kind of like, I don't know, the parody to Geth almost, without, any of the sort of political overtones that come with calling it like a parody to get to Geth. But client diversity is a good thing. Stability is a good thing. And I think in general, we want to create an ecosystem of robust software that allow people to use Handshake really, really easily. And that's part of what I'm trying to do over the next couple of months. So I'm really excited to see things like the proliferation of resolvers, because that's going to allow people to get utility from these names, and some of the work that we're seeing done on second level domain markets on top of other decentralized protocols like Ethereum. So, to me, what I want to see happen is, you buy a Handshake TLD and you're able to do really interesting kind of fun things with it. That includes hosting websites, but that also includes hosting social media usernames. And for that to work, you're going to need more namespace than Handshake provides. So by having these second level domains exist on something like, say, Ethereum, not only can you, now have enough namespace to support that use case, but you can also make sure that those names are decentralized in a similar way to how Handshake top level domains are decentralized. And I think that's really important, because Handshake to me is a lot more than just decentralized web. It's decentralized identity. And that's going to be a huge, huge market that I think actually is even bigger than, the idea of decentralized domains in general. I think before you can have decentralized identity playing out well, you need this kind of core infrastructure layer of how do I log in with a Handshake name or second level domain? How do I resolve, my website on those things? How do I make a market for second level domains, etc. So I can't really project out farther than that. But once that exists, there are already attempts at sort of decentralized social networking and things like that using Handshake names. So we've seen it kind of done on Namer News, although their backend isn't really decentralized. We've seen Kyokin try and do it with their Footnote product. The way I view all of this stuff is kind of, you want to make the base software layer as good as possible in order to allow as many experiments as possible to run. That's what we saw kind of happen with ETH is, people created open source software that then allowed everybody else to try lots and lots of different things. And then they kind of landed on, this, sort of DeFi idea, which is currently carrying most of the chain's volume. We'll see something similar. We just need to make it really easy for people to build new software on top of Handshake. And so for me, I want to focus my time and efforts on building the kind of good foundation, apart from just, it's useful for Shakedex, because that's then going to allow other people to come in and run the experiments required to try things like decentralized social networking. I believe we've seen about $1,400 of total volume, and that's the exchange names that have actually closed and sold. As far as names go, I believe it's about over 100 names that we've seen listed on the platform. Yeah, so we've had 137 auctions total, and 27 of them have closed. And then, depending on which website you're looking at, Shakedex itself gets about 300 visitors a week. And then, what's it called? Blockexplorer.com gets somewhere on the order of 50,000. One of the things I want to build, actually, just in general, is a website that lets people view all these stats for themselves, because that's going to, show everyone our growth publicly. Yes. keep in mind that the token model and all that is still very much TBD, but that is part of what I want to achieve here. We want the ability to incentivize people to list an exchange on Shakedex. That may include things like retroactive airdrops. It might also include things like, farming incentives for, using the Shakedex exchange. Partially. But I think the number one reason for me is still, I could do this as my legal name, and it would probably be actually easier from a marketing standpoint, at least at the beginning. But the narrative and sort of future of how people are going to coordinate and work together stuff, like, I think that's the number one. Those are the sort of main reasons why I decided to go anon. Like, if I'm going to do this, I want to go balls to the wall crypto, and going balls to the wall crypto for me means doing it anon. And it's also just fun. Probably not. I mean, I haven't thought of that yet. I would like, ideally, for the launch to be as fair as possible. So, minimal pre-mine. Obviously, if people, support me earlier on, I would want to compensate those people in the token. But I wouldn't necessarily, that wouldn't be like 80% of the supply. However, if you have an idea for how dark pools might help launch, then help us, launch or gain liquidity or whatever else it is, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'm the first to admit when there are things that I don't know much about, and dark pools are one of those things. So if you have some ideas there, just let me know and we can chat about it. All right, plan for upping the user base. So again, to me, this is based a lot on stability and ease of use. I think part of the reason why centralized exchanges control 90% of the naming market is that Handshake as a protocol is very difficult to use. So spending time improving like the core infrastructure that's used inside of Bob, as well as the user experience there, basically being an extra set of hands for, the Kyokan team when they need me. I think that alone will have a tremendous impact. Like, every time I hear someone say, oh, just do a deep clean and rescan of your wallet, I cry on the inside. So if we can eliminate those things, people won't run away to centralized exchanges when they try the decentralized alternative. And then that gives me the ability to, start marketing Shakedex. So I have a list of people with some pretty high value names. I have names of my own. Like, I have, a lot of volume that's just waiting for, to be listed on Shakedex, but it's somewhat blocked by people's reticence to list high value names because they don't think it's going to work. So I think that's the main thing I want to fix. So, if I'm able to fix these, problems that are preventing people from listing high value names, I can then have people list them. And if they're the only place you can get those names for a good price, I'm pretty sure volume will come. There are other things we can do to try and market it, but, those are all kind of ancillary, like creating a Twitter bot, for example, to keep track of, Shakedex auctions. I need to do that, but at the same time, it's not going to be nearly as impactful as just making sure that the thing works really well. And right now, there are times when it breaks, and when it does break, it scares people away, so they never list any names that are valuable. And that's the number one thing that I need to really fix. Most people from the Namebase Discord are aware of Shakedex. Namebase is very, how do I put this? They do not like talking about Shakedex very much. As an example, I don't think the Shakedex has been mentioned like once. I think blockexplorer.com has, but not Shakedex. That has been mentioned once in any of their newsletters and things like that. And I'm not really sure what's going on there. I mean, maybe they see us as a threat. Maybe they don't. From my point of view, like, this is the sort of Uniswap to their Coinbase. So there's a chance for everybody to live and work together. But their business is their business, and I don't have a lot of insight into their decision making.
Handshake Jesus reminded me of a question about like the Namebase to Shakedex transferring, and I was wondering if you can think of any other kind of like features or products that could be used for besides just a faster like wait time to listing your domains on the DEX. Could it be used for like some kind of, I don't know, application or product or something?
You're referring to the thing inside of Shakedex that lets you transfer from somewhere directly into an auction lock script, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that can be used for a lot of things. The number one thing that I can think of there is if you want somebody to list an auction for you. So, for example, you have somebody that has a lot of names, and they want to go through some middleman or broker. That lock script could just be the Shakedex auction lock script controlled by that broker. So basically, they can list it immediately and manage all that stuff on behalf of somebody else without having to go through that additional transfer step. Basically, anybody that wants to list directly on Shakedex can use this feature because it, like I said, eliminates the need to transfer to somewhere else and then transfer again. So you basically save 48 hours. That said, though, I don't have any explicit product plans for that just yet. Its main use case right now is to allow people to list directly on Shakedex from a centralized exchange. Yes, I'm working on this. This is one of the things that I need to build in the next couple of months. We need to support both sides of the market, right? The sort of, well, not both sides of the market, but both market types. I have a name and I want to auction it off, and I want to buy somebody's name and I'm going to make a buyout offer. We're going to support both on Shakedex, and we're going to try and do it in a way that's decentralized and allows you to immediately fulfill the same way you would on services like Namebase. Yeah, so we'll need an account concept for that. I think that's something we should add to both blockexplorer.com and Shakedex because people are going to want the ability to manage sort of these names and things like that. We can also add it to Bob too. That also provides a springboard for other features. Like one of the things I was thinking of adding to blockexplorer.com is the ability to do remind me when this name is available type stuff. Simple things that don't require custody that make interacting with Handshake easier. We will need the ability to do a swap between Handshake and Ethereum if we go the governance token route, and that governance token route has a draw on Shakedex fees. So I'd rather leverage someone else's technology there than build my own. Yes, it will be compatible with it. So, well, there's two different ways that it can be compatible with it, right? So if by compatible you mean you can use wrapped HNS to bid directly on a Shakedex auction, the answer is I think it's theoretically possible. It's just kind of hard. If by that you mean, will say the governance token and things like that be integrated with wrapped HNS, the answer is categorically yes, because the model I'm envisioning is your Shakedex token holdings entitle you to a percentage of the fees generated by the Shakedex exchange during a given period. And since the Shakedex token exists on Ethereum, would need to use something like wrapped HNS in order to give people the fees they are entitled to. So whether or not wrapped HNS exists, some like a wrapped HNS is what I mean here, like the official one. I'll either use that one or create my own, if it's not ready yet, when it's time for us to sort of decentralize the governance of Shakedex. Yes, it can be on chain. Not quite as high on my list, although I do need to link the Shakedex TLD to all the sites that I control. But it can be fully on chain. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet because I just want to make sure everything works really well before over-indexing on the infrastructure itself being decentralized, since I expect the majority of people are going to be just going to the regular web versions of these things for a while. I want to increase volume before I, decentralize the websites themselves. As far as how it works, we can point to a SIA registry. We could use IPFS for it. I also think that this is a good use case for something like Footnote, assuming that ships, because you have these relatively small pre-signs that are ephemeral, so they don't take up a lot of space and they get deleted as soon as, the auction gets fulfilled. So as long as you have the ability to index them somehow and download them, it can live on any decentralized storage provider that you want. I always feel like there's so much to do in so little time. So, if this is something that you're interested in as well, or anyone else in here has things that they're interested in, I'm more than happy to, accommodate things that you want to work on in the Shakedex open source ecosystem. They're open source projects for a reason. We might give tokens for open source contributions in the future, but, everyone is encouraged to, if they have an itch, go scratch it And I'm happy to work with you to get it merged into mainline, if in the mainline master branch, if it's something that we both agree is going to be helpful for the entire Shakedex community. I'd be totally down to have Kurumi on a handshake T-shirt. Although the corporate Claude in me says we should redraw her ourselves because the current avatar is copyrighted. But I do believe that the handshake team had an anime avatar in the past. So maybe we could talk to the same people or even co-opt the same avatar. I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I think it'd be like super fun to get that kickstarted. And I was thinking like between like handshake, I feel like we have like a good cast of characters to make a really funny handshake story. Like handshake, but like Lord of the Rings. I don't know.
Absolutely, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do the avatar in the first place. It's a lot more fun, like that Rick and Morty episode, where like they have all those like wacky characters and they're all locked in the house because they've like, I don't know, the brain parasites shapeshift or whatever. Like, it's a lot more fun to have that than just some, stodgy group of folks with real names. Like if I were reading a book about the history of Handshake, a group of anime characters together doing really cool, interesting stuff feels a lot more compelling to me. And if I can, have a part in that just by creating an anime character, then that's what I'm going to do. And I also don't think we have any H&S merch right now. So yeah, I'm stoked about it. I'd wear it.
Yeah, so how Meta Factory works, just to answer like one of the questions in the chat as well. It's like technically for profit, like they're selling the clothing, but we get their tokens back to wherever, like if I'm designing it, I would get their Meta Factory robot tokens back, and then I could just put that into the H&S fund. So like selling all this merch could actually go to funding other projects in this space. And they do like all the designing and manufacturing and production for us. And they make like really dope shit. They've done like Sushi Swap and Wi-Fi and a bunch of other crypto teams. So if you have ideas, just
That's
like
really cool. Yeah, I'm not the greatest T-shirt designer, but yeah, I'm stoked that I'd get a huge kick out of it if I was on a T-shirt. So yeah, let's do it. Oh yeah, Namebase sells H&S merch. They do. They sell like a handshake logo on a sweatshirt. I just forgot about that. But yeah, I'm really down for whatever the community wants. One thing that I don't intend on doing though is shipping merch and stuff like that myself, unless like the governance is fully decentralized and people voted in. I'm trying to fund as much of this on my own as possible, and so yeah, it would feel weird to me if I spent money on merch that didn't come directly from the community. So I'll support whatever you guys create. I think over time would like to integrate the Bob Chrome extension with the Shakedex .com website in addition to blockexplore.com, where it's already integrated. As far as like utilizing Bob or doing any type of custody, no, I don't intend on doing any type of custody. I think there are people that are going to be better at that than us, and I also don't think it's congruent with kind of our mission and our message, which is that you should try and avoid things that take custody of your names. I actually haven't thought about this. I've been sort of ETH focused for most of my time in crypto, so it's Cosmos is something that comes to mind kind of when people remind me of it. So now that you've reminded me of it, I can go check it out and see whether or not it would be a good fit for what we're trying to do. From what I understand, yeah, IBC might be a good way to get wrapped handshake before wrapped handshake exists on places like Ethereum. Not right now. Want to get handshake working really, really well first. And also that's where, most people are going to have, that's the token that most people are going to have most of on handshake. Yeah, I want to add this. I don't have like a ton of feedback on the HIP though. I mean, I think it seems pretty straightforward. So basically this fits into the overall like making Shakedex work better and more fun epic. And so the goal here is to ship that alongside storefronts and place offer. You trade off a little bit of centralization, but in return you get a lot more kind of liveness of the auction. So rather than it just being the auction kind of sitting up, as a listing that anybody can take, it's an actual auction that, exists over a certain time period. And people can place increasing bids as opposed to decreasing. Most likely, unless I learn something groundbreaking about, some of the other protocols that we can make tokens on. Someone mentioned Gravity Dex and Cosmos earlier. If that's, going to make it much, much easier for me to launch this, then I'll use that. But right now, ERC20. Yes, I've already listed names. Maybe if you're asking like whether I'm kind of dogfooding it myself, yes, I am dogfooding it myself. Where dogfooding means using the app that I build, in case people aren't familiar with that term. Will I be doing an ICO? No. Well, if by ICO you mean will I create a token? Yes. If by ICO you mean, is there going to be a really cool website with a timer that counts up and goes, your bonus expires in 30 minutes? Like, no, I'm not going to be doing that. It'll probably be a fair launch. For everything that I know right now, like I'll put make a Uniswap pool. People can buy the token from there. Tokens will be locked for a while. Some of them will be pre-allocated to people that have supported me in my ability to work on this thus far. But a small number, the majority of them should come from the open market. I'm not a big fan of, selling everything up front. This is designed to be sort of a dividend on Shakedex's profits. I want that governance set to be as distributed as possible and as engaged as possible, because if it's just a couple people, we're no better than a centralized exchange. I don't want to make any promises on things like distribution right now. That said, though, it's important to me that I create incentives for people to use Shakedex and reward people that have been participating in the Shakedex ecosystem in the past. That's all I want to say. So, act accordingly, I guess. And one of the nice things is, we're not super pioneers here. There's a lot of prior art for these things having worked in the past, like what's worked, what hasn't worked. We can look to the prior art on ETH and other chains to figure out the best way to do this, and that's what I intend on doing. So, stay tuned, basically. It's going to be a couple of months before I can do this because I need to, ship all this other stuff first, but the end package should be something that's going to be really interesting and really fun and incentivizes people to use Shakedex itself, which should bring a lot more volume. Use it. I'm serious. The more feedback I get, the more people tell me what's shitty and what isn't, the better I can respond. And, a lot of people here have a lot of technical knowledge. They can fix the problems that they see. If you're willing to do that too, that would help as well. So open source contributions plus telling me what's wrong, that kind of 1-2 punch is going to significantly accelerate my ability to, get these things out the door. There's only so much sort of QA and things like that I can do personally. I don't know yet. And the reason I say that is it depends what the VC is willing to want. Would I consider working with one of the VCs on Handshake? Yes, I would, but the relationship between me and the VC would need to be congruent with the sort of decentralized crypto ideals that I'm trying to create with this avatar. So what I mean by that is, I don't want a traditional equity investment. I don't want to incorporate a company called Shakedex that someone takes equity in. I'd rather take crypto where the understanding is, okay, this is going to go towards, development, and then you get some token in return. That's more the type of relationship that I would like to have, as opposed to, I'm going to raise a safe round, or a priced round or something like that, where the vehicle that gets delivered to the VCs is equity. I'd much rather it just be the token. And the other part of it is, how much money do I realistically need to launch this? That remains to be seen. If there's things liquidity VCs can do to raise additional liquidity, that's another question as well. But as far as sort of development and things like that is concerned, something that I've seen in the past is, you raise a lot of VC capital, and then, you now have this really strong incentive to do things like go and hire a team. what I'm trying to do with this is, if Shakedex is successful, a Shakedex company will not exist. Like, there should be a Shakedex DAO that basically governs, either a treasury of Shakedex tokens, or handshake or whatever else, right, that pays out to people that want to get involved in the community. So that's sort of the long-term vision for things like governance. And if there are VCs that are amenable to helping make that happen, would love an intro. Just let me know. And also just happy to talk to people that are interested in Shakedex and want to see it successful. Maybe there are things that I don't know. In fact, I know there are things that I don't know that experienced VCs do. So I'm happy to chat nevertheless. Thanks everyone else for coming. This was great. And hit me up on Twitter or Discord if you have any questions that you want to cover here, and then that we didn't cover here. And then would love to do one of these again in the next couple of months, share more progress, and just onwards and upwards, chaps. All right, guys, thank you. Have a great day.